Welcome back to Between Bells, everyone. President Joe Biden planning to announce a full withdrawal of U.S. troops from Afghanistan. Two people familiar with the plan say U.S. troops will withdraw by September 11th to mark a symbolic end to the longest war in American history. And here to discuss is Jack Detsch, national security reporter at Foreign Policy. Jack, it's good to be with you. The Trump administration had previously set a May 1st deadline in agreement with the Taliban here. So what does Joe Biden's decision mean?
So, I mean, this is a pretty significant gamble just when you talk to folks around the Pentagon and the national security community. Look, they could have tried to meet the deadline of May 1st, but you would have to do everything really quickly. You could airlift all the troops and the equipment out of the country, but it's a significant muscle movement, and it would leave the peace talks between the Taliban and the Afghans, which the U.S. has been involved in, kind of hanging in the balance. So this gives the U.S. a little bit more time to stay in the fight, to allow U.S. troops to be on the ground as the Taliban begins its fighting season, typically happening in the summer. But again, just not a lot of consensus here. I've been told that leaders in the military, dating all the way back to the Trump administration, have pushed pretty hard on this. The reason being, they're worried that Al-Qaeda, ISIS, and the Taliban could regenerate. And if the military doesn't have the combat power it needs, you could see those groups resurge.
Absolutely. And I want to talk with you more about that issue in just a bit, but let's also focus on this September date. Why September, and what response are we seeing in Washington to the president's decision?
Well, it was really clear that President Biden wanted to get out of this conflict this year. He signaled it. He just, again, I think getting out by May was going to be tricky. So September, as you said in the opener, Asia, gives the administration a symbolic marker to end this war and to bring American troops home. In Washington, to say it's a mixed bag would be just an incredible understatement. I mean, you see people like Elizabeth Warren and Ted Cruz coming out in favor of Biden's decision, not two names you'd put together. A lot of the time you see Mitch McConnell, the Senate Minority Leader, and Jeanne Shaheen coming out against it. This has always been kind of a weird meeting point between pro-Trump doves, anti-war Democrats on one side who want to bring the troops home, and a meeting point also between people who are worried about Afghanistan falling into chaos. So a lot of Democrats we talked to, like Andy Kim of New Jersey, said, look, we're long past mission accomplished when it comes to degrading al-Qaeda, and that gels with what we heard from senior administration officials yesterday. But it's been countered by folks on the right who are worried that Biden could basically be repeating Obama's mistake in Iraq of leaving too soon and allowing groups like ISIS to resurge here.
And Jack, as somewhat referred to a little bit earlier, this time could allow for a vacuum in the region. The Taliban has threatened attacks in Afghanistan because of the decision to move the date back beyond May 1st. How big of a concern is this?
I think it's a huge concern. I mean, there's concern that you could see the Taliban trying to move in on American positions. Again, they've threatened attacks before. And this is really coming at a crucial time for the peace talks in the country. It throws them sort of into confusion. We've seen the U.S. already pledging to have a summit with European partners. But there's just a big question now of where that combat power is going to come from to deal with this problem and to countenance the Taliban and other groups that are threatening violence here. And there's significant concern about that in Kabul, which is really depending on the U.S. and the international mission to protect them.
Jack Detsch, a national security reporter at Foreign Policy, really appreciate your insight. We will be following this story.